Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tony Talks, where I have conversations with inspirational leaders, influencers, and change makers. It's a show where the people that I bring on are people that aren't just doing well in life, that are doing good in the world and contributing back, and that have given back to our society and our community. And the person that I have today, he's become a very good friend of mine as of a few years ago. And there are a few people who have given back as much as this man has. I'm proud to call him a friend, really proud to call him a brother. His name is Isaac Day. He is a 23-year Army veteran that was a field combat medic, and not just in title, but he was been in so many wars and so many interactions and so many situations. And before I even bring him on, I'm going to say this about him. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring him on anyway, but I'm just going to ask him to just let me finish because, he's a very humble guy. And there he is, Mr. Isaac Day. I appreciate you, brother. And I'm just going to go on to say before you even, but say hello, and then I'm going to continue your introduction.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? I'm Isaac Day. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. Absolutely.
Awesome. So I met Isaac a couple of years ago, and it was one of these moments that actually also shaped my life and shifted my life. And as he told me his story, and we're not going to get in. Well, you can get into the story if you choose. I'm just going to say this component of it. He's a veteran, and he was a field combat medic, recently retired, and he was telling me how, when he was in the field and soldiers are getting shot at and there's somebody that's wounded, and even if they're dying, he would go and stay with them. Doesn't matter if he was getting shot at. And I got the chills just telling about this. It didn't matter if he was getting shot at or whatever. He never let one of his men die alone. And he stayed there with them till the end. Doesn't matter if shit was blowing up around him. And brother, and I've got the chills on me right now. And I'm feeling it right now, like you have no idea, because that struck me so hard, bro. That hit me. I don't even know if I told you that phrase hit me so hard. And I appreciate you for that. And I appreciate you putting your life on the line to help so many of our brave men and women that are out there fighting for the freedoms that we get to enjoy today. And you continue. Now you've retired, and we can get into that story. And you continue to be on the front lines fighting the battles that are still raging within our country that have really come to a head at this point. So I just want you to know, brother, I appreciate you, and have crazy amounts of respect for that, brother. So with that said, now I wanted to give you a proper introduction, and I hope that did you a little bit of justice.
Okay, I really appreciate that, Tony. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, that's humbling. And first of all, let me start off by saying I appreciate you. When Tony and we first met was in November of 2018 up in New Jersey, New York, at one of Tony Robbins' event. And also active duty. And for me, I was struggling with some things in my past, dealing with my service, everything legal. But morally, I felt it was a little wrong. And so I was on this search of finding peace. Along that search, I ran into Mr. Tony, and I was struggling at this event. It was about 14,000 people?
About that.
14 or 15. It was a huge number, 1,000. And I had never been, it was a lot of people. And so if you can imagine at these Tony Robbins events, it's something that you will never, that experience changed my life. So in the beginning, everybody, and it was for active duty.
Hey, Isaac. So Isaac, sorry to interrupt.
It was perfect.
Hey, Isaac.
Get ready to leave.
Isaac.
Yeah.
Hold on a sec. You're lagging a little bit. I don't know if you can have other devices that are near you just turned off because you're lagging. We are only hearing every other word.
Okay. Let me
Just try to turn off
Back out
the
here.
Wi-Fi and all of the other devices if possible.
Okay. How's that?
Much better. Yep, there you go. You're moving again.
Okay. All right. So, all right, I'll start over. Okay. So Tony and I, we first met in November 2018 up in New Jersey, New York. You know, some people say New York, New Jersey is at one of the big centers. Thousands, I mean, over 14 to 15,000 people at this Tony Robbins event. I was so active duty, and I was searching for who I had become and how I can transition to a more peaceful state, to being a warrior in a garden. So here I am, around all these people. Things are getting crazy, and I'm looking around. People are jumping up and down. I was like, nah, this ain't for me. I got to go. But I had some great folks on Tony Robbins' team that say, hey, hold up. Like, before you leave, like, give them a chance. And that was probably one of the best decisions I made in my life. He challenged me in a way that, and you remember that conversation we had. I'm not going to go into it. But let me tell you, America, my eyeballs, it was hot that day. My eyeballs are sweating. You know, I sat here and I poured my heart out to someone I didn't know, that didn't look like me. And it goes right into what I'm about to get into as far as race. As a combat medic, I went into Iraq in 0304. And one of the oaths that we take as medics is do no harm, right? It don't matter your color, your creed, your race, whatever. We're here to take care of you. And one of the things that I put upon my heart, just the person I am, is that when people were mortally wounded and we knew they were going to pass away, one of the things that I made a promise to myself that no service member will ever die alone or die without someone holding them. And so the first service member I held, I remember that pain, and I remember more importantly that conversation. Usually we make sure they're comfortable, and I remember once we gave them the pain medication, those 3 minutes that he talked about was the most beautiful story that I've ever heard in my life. He talked about when he first met his wife, her eye color. I'll never say she had pretty green eyes, and his face. Can you hear me?
You're lag.
So
just started lagging again a little bit.
What I took from that first one. Okay, I got no devices on. After that when during that first event, when I lost, I called my brother. He's a good friend. I thought about his last 3 minutes, and I want America to please listen to what I'm about to say. Whatever adding to that story, nothing else matters. Trust you me. Someone who cut you off 3 months ago, you're not going to talk about that in your last minute. And I've watched hundreds of people, pass away, and I've held hundreds of people as they passed away. And let me tell you, the names may change, but the flavor, they're grateful for the life, the things that add beauty to their life. Connected, we're good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think it might be lagging on my side for whatever
What's
reason.
going on in America? Yeah. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. The whole point I want to make with the current situation, back in February, I started, well, before February, January, I started to notice some trends. And I know some trends right now race-wise. And I put something out at the end of February. I said, hey, look, if you got stock, you may want to dump it because in the mid-March, the stock market is going to crash. People call me crazy. They said, you don't know what you're talking about. I look at data. And being a soldier diplomat, I was taught to look at things from a global aspect. 23 years in the military, I've learned some pretty interesting lessons and how they are able to predict uprisings. So recently, about 3 weeks ago, I said, hey, listen, some of the things I'm seeing on the news, they start rioting right now after the COVID. It's a recipe for disaster. You know, you got folks who feel like they're unheard, and MLK said it best. He said, rioting is the communication and the voice of the unheard. So think about it like this. These individuals who are rioting, they feel like they don't have a voice. Like right now in America, if I said, who is the voice for Black America to go talk to President Trump right now? Who is the leader to say, here are the concerns of the African American community? Who would you name, Tony? Like if you had it off the top of your head, Al Sharpton, like who would you name that's credible enough to speak on behalf of the African American population?
Man, to be honest with you, right now, I don't
So
know.
if you don't have representation, and you don't have, we have to have these. Think about it. Is there?
I don't think there is. Not anyone with of significance that I think is representing that in my opinion that's representing the whole community or the majority.
Now, don't get me wrong. Now, you have some activists out there that are amazing. There's a few that I'm not going to go into names because I don't have permission to bring up their names. But who has a direct line where they can go into the administration and say, hey, look, as a whole, here's what's going on over here. And here are the concerns from this city and the city leaders. Like we right now, we have to get organized. And so what's happening, you have bus loads of people coming to certain cities that are not from that city, trying to hold a protest. But when people show up from out of state to a protest in your city with hammers, you need to kick them out. Like they need to be in their own little area. Don't want you to ask, because this is a moment where I want you to ask any question that you ever wanted to ask someone of who's melanated. And I'm going to be straight. I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of all Black Americans. Let me make sure I'm very clear on that, because I cannot. I don't have that right. Nor does anybody have the right to speak for me. That's why I'm here. This is why I've been doing shows, these talk shows. So back your head about what's going on. And if you have a question about why like this.
Lagging real bad here, brother, and I don't know if it's on my side or if it's on yours, which is terrible. I don't know if you can get closer. I don't know if because people are here are saying that lagging on their side as well. I don't know. Maybe if you can get closer to the internet source. I think I got your question, so I'm going to ask my question. But if you can get closer to your internet source, wherever your router is, it might help a little bit. And I know it's frustrating. Or if you can just go on self-service.
Okay.
Self-service is better. It might be better if you go on that. So if I hear you asking correctly, and by the way, and Timothy put in a question here as well, which I'll ask. But I guess the question that's being asked a lot. By the way, Tim, is that me lagging or is it Isaac lagging? If you guys, somebody can type in the chat, is it me that's lagging or is it Isaac that's lagging?
And Ms. Jaden, could you come here for a second, please?
So the question that,
Ms.
and
Jaden?
I'll put this in a couple of ways. So Tim asks the question, what's your desired outcome? And I guess, to piggyback on that question is, what can
Take it off
what
Wi-Fi.
can we do? What can America do? What can our politicians do? Obviously, I think that this has been
Hold
mismanaged
on,
for.
because we weren't getting great service, so he wanted me to take it off Wi-Fi.
So it's better now for what it's worth.
So
Right now,
everybody
you're
else
not
to
lagging
get off the internet. Thank you.
as you lag a little bit.
Okay, that's me. All right, so I switched off Wi-Fi. We're good.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
I think you're going to be good now. Thank you
I
for
got the
that.
greatest aids. Yes, no worries.
Awesome. So I think that again, like I said, Tim had asked, "What's the desired outcome?" And I think that that's a question that so many people have, and certainly this whole situation has been mismanaged for decades. Decades. There's no reason for us to be here again, and we'll get into that conversation a little bit further on. But to ask the question that you asked is, what could, I guess, not to say white America, because not everyone is white. Hell, I'm not technically white. But what is your, to his question, what is your desired outcome? What could this country, what could our leadership, what could the average American do right now to make things better? You can't make things right because lives have been lost. People's lives are irreparably harmed and changed forever, including not just, again, all over, not just George Floyd at this point, but his family and certainly the families of those who have died since that incident happened.
All right. So what's the desired outcome? That's the question from Tim, correct?
Yeah.
Very simple. Stop killing unarmed black men.
Great one. That's a great one. And
that's at the end of the day, if I can't sit in my house watching TV without someone kicking in my door and killing me, we have problems. If I can't sleep next to my spouse without someone kicking the door, not announcing themselves, they got the wrong house, shoots my wife or my girlfriend 8 times, and then I shoot back and they charge me for attempted murder or whatever the case may be, all I'm saying is be fair across the board. If you can take in a shooter that shot up multiple people and you can take them in and then beat them afterwards, you can take in someone who's unarmed, who's handcuffed, alive. That's the desired outcome.
Yeah,
treat everybody the same.
I will tell
Stop
you
killing us.
that the vast majority of people across the world, not just in America, across the world, are appalled at what happened. What this individual, I don't even want to call him anything more than an individual.
No, you call him what you want. He's a sick. He has a mental problem. Anyone who can stand on someone's neck for that amount of time while they scream for their mother, I am sorry, you are a sick individual. And until America looks at something like that and denounces people like that, you got to look at it like this. When you look at the number of shootings that have happened towards black men, I want you to close your eyes for a second, Tony, and imagine this. Close your eyes for a second. Tony goes to a store to buy something. Tony hands the clerk $20. The clerk notices this $20 a counterfeit, calls the police. Unbeknownst to Tony, he doesn't know that's a counterfeit $20 bill. The police come, they put you in the back of the car. You said you're claustrophobic. They throw some licks at you, whatever the case may be. They take you out the car, and then 2 people stand on top of you. And then for the next 7 to 10 minutes, whatever the time is, your family gets to watch you slowly get tortured and scream for your mother. So imagine every person that you're an uncle to, a father to, a son to, a cousin to, a friend to, has seen Tony get tortured in broad daylight by the people we're supposed to protect. Now, those individuals that know Tony, how do you expect for them to respond when people that look like Tony are constantly getting killed by cops? Now open your eyes.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
And
It's scary. And
then imagine this, having someone ask, well, Tony died, so what do you want the outcome to be?
no,
Tony being alive?
I mean,
Tony not being killed? Like some of the questions that are asked and that are stated, you got to kind of look at it and be like, I don't know who this Tim was. I don't even know the person's last name, but if they're serious that they want to know, like, hey, what is the fix? Stop killing unarmed black men.
yeah. Listen, the reality of it is here's the even worse. Even if it was a $20 bill, even if the guy,
I don't know what it was. It don't matter.
It didn't matter that you had him restrained. You had him restrained. They could have tased him. They could have.
Tony, you're on your back.
Crazy.
I mean, you're in your stomach. You got your handcuffed behind your back, and you have an officer. Let's say he was a black officer with his knee on your neck, and another officer doing the same thing. What would your family think?
I know what I would think. I know what I would want to do. So I understand.
Well, you want to breathe, but you're dead now. So now we lost Tony. Now imagine what I would do. Now you know our relationship. And you know the people I protect and what I do for a living. What would I do?
You jump in there and defend that man, or you jump in and fight for what's right. One of the things that
I'm talking about after the fact. I get a phone call and he said, hey, check the news. Tony was murdered. I would come to your hometown and make sure your wife and your kids and let them know under no circumstance that we're going to allow this to go unpunished. Justice will be served.
Yeah.
And it'll be served cold.
As it should be. As it should be. That listen.
And for those that think that by violent acts it doesn't do anything, doesn't solve anything, why do we go to war?
Fair point. Tim actually says it's Tim Ruppel. And he actually says, how do you educate everyone? Which is really, at the end of the day, this is a conversation.
And that's a great question. I'm glad, Tim, I want to cut you off. It's not my job to educate you. You have to educate yourself. Just like I had to educate myself on the Muslim population, going from Iraq to going to being a diplomat to Saudi Arabia, I had to change my mindset on what I was taught. I was taught they were the enemy. Now I'm going into an environment where I'm here to support Muslims in their efforts to better their country, no matter if they're Saudi or whatever the case may be. I have a mission. I have a job. I had to do that mental shift. But I didn't go to someone and say, I need you to teach me. No, sometimes you got to open up a book. If it really matters to you, you really want change to happen, you'll pick up a book. Tony, when you want to better yourself, do you sit back and say, I want someone to teach me, or do you go out and you make it happen?
You got to go out and make it happen. The reality of it is.
And this is for Timothy. Stop being lazy, Timothy. All right, next one. I'm sorry. He's being lazy. Do your research. And this is just me being man to man. It has nothing to do with significance. It's just calling another man out and stop being lazy. We know what's going on, and this is what's pissing a lot of black folks off. You're playing silly. What is the end outcome? It's simple. Stop killing unarmed black men. If someone is in trouble, take them in like you take everybody else in, alive.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate thing is that, and the bigger problem that we have, not just here, but probably I think it's a systemic problem throughout society is, there's less and less respect these days, and respect is something that you usually learn at home, right? It's in the home that you learn respect. I had a conversation with my kids when this first happened. It's tragic, and we were watching, and we're like, oh my God, what's going on? And I told them, I says, and it's educating your kids first at home and saying how wrong that is, and that everybody is human. We're all the same at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. It's no different than you're wearing a black shirt and I might wearing a white shirt. To the same extent, inside that shirt, we're all the same. But it starts with respect and people needing to have self-respect. because when you have self-respect, then you can respect others. And if you can't respect everyone, then you really have enough self-respect for yourself. What I've been saying to people is that say, well, you know, it's one thing or another. I said, well, what if that was you? What if that was your son? What if that was your father, your brother? And that's really the thing that hits home, because yeah, shit happens, and they say, well, you know, there's a few bad apples, but you know what? When it comes to our police department, the people that are charged with protecting us, and they have a weapon, and they have the right to restrain us and to take away our freedom, albeit for a certain amount of time, they need to be held to a higher standard. And this, to all my police friends and family and brothers, I love you, and I'm not speaking to all of you. There's a percentage of people, though, that do not and should not be wearing the uniform. And every department, you guys know who it is. This guy had 17 or 18 things filed against him, and unfortunately, the union, being what it is, just jumps to defense to defend the guy, innocent to proven guilty. No, he's on video. So there is no place for bad apples. The example was made yesterday. That's like saying the airline, listen, most of our pilots are good. 97% of our pilots are good. We have 3% that are bad apples. Most of them land the plane. Some of them like to crash them. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. And it's enough is enough, because the same way that it could happen, that it happened to George Floyd, it could happen to Isaac Day, it could happen to Tony Rodriguez, it could happen to Brian Bradley or Tim Ruppel. You know, Martin Luther King said, and this is one of the ones that just keeps coming up, is injustice anywhere is the threat to justice everywhere. Because when you let the system, or whether it be a few bad apples or a whole apple tree, take control and do what they will to us, and I say us because we are not different. We're just one race. And that's when people really need to grow beyond that. Look, man, I grew up in Newark. I grew up in the inner city. I came here at 6 years old as an immigrant, and I felt that. And I felt, you know, and to be truthful, I've felt outcast and maybe a little bit of racism throughout my life, but not a lot. The one time I did feel a tremendous amount of racism was when I was hanging out with two black friends of mine. And I'm not sure if it was in Florida. To be honest with you, I'm not sure where I was. And when I got up to go to the bathroom, everybody looked and whatever, but I got up to go to the bathroom, they were looking at me like they wanted to kick my ass. And I'm like, what the? And then it clicked. I'm like, son of a bitch. I felt that was the first time I felt it. And there was a shift. That was the time in my life that there was a shift that I felt that I'm like, holy shit. First, I didn't understand it. And then I did, because when I went to sit down with them, we were all getting the looks. And I said, son of a bitch. And so, bro, I you know, this is something that's been firing me up. And again, it's a scary time for society. It's a scary time in this country, not as much because of the riots, but because it happened again. It just happened in New York 3 or 4 years ago. Before that, I mean, it happens all the time, and these are only the cases that hit the media. There's plenty of others. Right. There's hundreds and thousands that happen every year.
So can I feel like I need to explain why I said that in 4 months, if we don't correct what's happening, we'll have a civil war in America. And when I put stuff out there, I like to give data and my rationale, and this is my opinion. Okay, I'm fully retired. I don't have no special information. It's just some of the things I'm seeing around the world. And I constantly remind myself, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he once wrote, he said, forget this right, he said, African Americans have been living in burning buildings for many years. You know, he said, choking on the smoke as the flames burn closer and closer. He said, racism in America is like dust in the air. It seems invisible, even if you're choking on it, until you let the sun in, then you see it everywhere. Those who criticize the looting, the fires, saying that the actions are hurting the protesters' cause, they're wrong, but they're not right. the black community has been going through so much injustice. It got to a point where it's like, what do you have to lose? I can't sit in my home without getting murdered. I can't do this. So let me go out here. Cap tried to explain to him there's an issue with police officers killing unarmed black men. And if you look at for the last 2 years, how much shit Cap, can I curse?
Go for it.
How much sugar honey iced tea Cap got for bringing up this exact situation. He was trying to avoid what's going on right now. But we all said that he was disrespecting the flag, he was doing this, he was doing that. So where can we go to make this all better? Here's the deal. We continue to fight and justify the actions of a few bad officers. What's going to happen is both sides are going to posture up, all right? The other side is going to say they're tearing up our buildings or breaking windows, destroying property. We got to stop this. They're going to get guns because they have guns, not understanding that the other side has guns too, and they're tired of it. They're tired of being killed and murdered and everything else. And you got to think of one thing that no one's really paying attention to. This COVID. You got a lot of people who are broke. August, September is going to be a lot of people that get kicked out of their place because they've been not paying on their properties and their homes. So now their families getting kicked out on the street. Businesses are tore up. Businesses will not open back up. So now they're going to have a problem feeding their family. Again, this is where violence, unnecessary violence starts. Oh, my family has to suffer. Their family has to suffer. The other family's thinking, well, if they're going to come after me, I'm going to protect me. So now you have guns everywhere, shooting everywhere, everybody tearing up stuff. And what does that look like? A civil war. You're bringing a National Guard to stop it. I'm sorry. The military makes up less than 1% of the U.S. population. Now you get militias involved. And you see where we're going at with this? It goes down this rabbit hole. And what's going to happen, you're going to have someone like Tim saying, I still feel the same way I feel when there's nothing left for anyone.
I think Tim maybe.
I'm going after Tim because I know Tim. Like, yeah. Tim, he can take what I'm saying.
He actually marched yesterday. He marched yesterday in North Carolina with Amanda.
Oh, Tim's a good. Listen, yeah. I served with Tim. Like, I know, not served in the military, but in the other. Yeah. No, I can rag on Tim. But if I picked on anybody else, I'd probably take it personal. I know Tim can take it.
Yeah, he's a good man. Listen, one of the things that I've been saying, even before this happened with the COVID and what's been happening in our economy and what's been happening in society, and now it's an even more poignant comment is, what's the most dangerous animal in the world? A desperate human. And people are feeling desperate. They're feeling desperate because they're not being heard. They're feeling desperate because their brothers and sisters are being killed without rhyme or reason. And the people responsible aren't swiftly punished. For shame for the mayor and the governor of that state that granted the one officer who was on him is in jail, but where the other ones should also be in jail. Maybe they've gotten arrested today. I don't know. There's been enough of an outcry, but there's no reason why they shouldn't have all been in jail. Because bottom line, if someone loses their life at the hands of someone else and you were standing next to them, you're an accomplice, right? So you're going to be charged. So there's no reason. If there was swift action, this may have been preventable, but it wasn't. But again, this is the powder keg that's been boiling. And one of the things that we all need to do, and I absolutely support the demonstrators. I absolutely support that. Am I in support of the looting and rioting? Brother, I can't say that I am. To your point.
I'm going to tell you, even black people, if you look at when things start to initially, this is what they don't show in the media. And this is why I think it's kind of skewed. I actually want to start my own. I really want to start my own news channel when I go out to these places. And I showed at the beginning how things work. At this one event in Dallas, I was outside of Dallas on a family emergency. And I happened to be around the area. And I watched one guy who did not look like me start breaking windows with a hammer. Just went down and store to store breaking windows. And I watched people look at him and look at the police, and the police didn't do anything. So what do you think happened next?
Everybody else jumped in. That's
So
what
the police
happened.
are going to stop this guy from breaking window. It only takes one. And this is where I'm asking our community, the Black community, if you see one person, and we know people's heart. Don't use George's death to get a TV and some clothes. What does that got to do with, I guess, financially hurt the establishment? But okay, you got a bunch of Louis Vuitton, a whole bunch of other stuff, and a TV. But if you get booted out your place because you don't have money coming in, you're spending the next 7 days protesting versus working. Come August, when you got to pay your mortgage or your rent, and you can't pay it, guess what? That TV and all that stuff you took, guess where it's going to be at? After they go to the courts and they say, hey, look, they haven't paid rent for the last 4 months, all that stuff's going to be on the curb.
Right.
So when I say it's a lose-lose for everybody, it is a lose-lose for everybody. But there's hope. This is an opportunity for us, America, to take a strong look at what we've been doing and what has not worked and what has not served us. Our current practices of destroying stuff for a couple of days, forgetting about it, is not the answer. I'm going to ask you a question, Tony, a very straight question. You remember when the Native Americans were protesting the pipelines?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
Probably 6 years ago, maybe, was it?
You know how many people died from that?
I don't.
You know how many people got maimed from that, from canines being, like let off on them?
I don't. Because
and so it doesn't affect us. And this is just Isaac being honest, I really didn't follow that event to the T. I caught bits and pieces because it really didn't affect. It was way over somewhere else. I don't have anything to do with oil at this moment. So for me, I got other things that right now, it's right in the middle of right here, the VA, fighting for my vets and their rights, fighting for, getting these folks out of human trafficking, helping out these young men and making them better men. I'm doing all that. And so when someone asks me about, hey, what's going on with this protest? I'm like y'all right now. Hell, I don't know. Could you help me understand, what's going on and why they're protesting? Because I still, to this day, don't understand what was the big rationale behind them protesting other than they didn't want to ruin the environment. I got that. But what else? I didn't have the information. The only way I'm going to get that information is do my research. You think I'm going to call someone over there and say, hey, could you explain to me why you guys are protesting? No. You do your research. And then when you have questions, then you go to someone who's in charge of that protest and say, hey, look, this is what I've learned. What am I missing? Right now, America wants one side to explain all their issues, and they've been doing it for 400 years. What's going to take? They're tired of talking. And you got to look at it like this, too. The last two generations were brought up during the crack epidemic and the pill epidemic. So families have been torn apart on both sides, but all races. The pill epidemic affected a lot of people. The crack epidemic has created horrible problems. So what comes out of that? Think about those kids. Who's raising those kids?
Usually the grandparents or, one single parent or, sometimes the system. So many times the parents aren't doing a good enough job because they think that the school system should do it, but the school system is not prepared for that either. So to your point, and brilliant the way you put it is there's no way. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's no answer to that question. How do you fix it? How do you fix it is you start somewhere. You start doing the right thing. There is no quick fix. You can't flip a switch and it's okay tomorrow. That ship sailed a long time ago. It's the small fixes every time something comes up. When there's, you don't wait for the whole forest to be on fire before you start putting it out. You see a flare up, you see a fire, you go put it out. You don't sit there like, that fire's over there. It's down the street from my house. I don't give a shit. It's not burning my house. Problem is, if nobody puts out that fire, it burns the house next to that and the house next to that. And before you know it, the whole neighborhood's on fire. And then you want to say, how can we put out this fire really quickly? You can't. It's been burning for too long, and people have been ignoring it for too long. And unfortunately, you got to do what you can to put it out and start to rebuild it. But it isn't something that gets fixed right away. And I wish there was a quick fix.
Hey, Tony, can I ask you a question? And not to put you on a spot, and this is to be totally like open. I know we're this is a show where we show vulnerability and
I'm an open book, dude.
Have these difficult conversations. Okay. So you remember the first protest when they were upset about the mask and they stormed the Capitol and they went in there with AR-15s, and you remember that?
Yeah.
I think it was in Michigan or Minnesota, right? What happened? What was the response to that first group? We supported them, right? Right? They had an issue. They brought it to the attention of their leadership, and they were supported by the upper leadership. They have a right. They're good people. They're showing a lot of support. Matter of fact, they're cheered on. But here it is, the second group says, hey, but they're black and they're demanding justice. Here's what I saw on my Facebook. They were called names. They were threatened with violence. So I asked a few friends, if you're still wondering if the first group is racist, you should start wondering if you're too. If you don't see a problem with the first group and you're saying you support them, but the second group is saying, hey, and you're like, be quiet. Don't take it to me. You're disrespecting. Like, you mean to tell me a bunch of men storming a public building with AR-15s, with all the shootings, the mass shootings we've had in schools, malls, movie theaters, that people are okay with a group of individuals walking into a public building armed to a T, and they're like, that, my friend, is what I call injustices. I'm sorry. If I saw anybody walk into a building with an AR-15, if I don't have my own, I'm going the other way. Because last time I checked, anytime someone walked into an AR-15 in the last year, a lot of people got shot up.
Yeah.
So how is it that we're okay with people walking with Confederate flags, extremist flags, and carrying weapons and saying things that were anti-America, and allowing them to get in front of police officers with no mask and screaming in their face during this COVID? What happened to the 6 feet? Why didn't they get arrested?
They should have been. Listen, at the end of the day, everybody needs to be treated the same, and the laws should be enforced, and that's what really we should be doing. Everyone needs to be treated the same, because at the end of the day, we're all the same.
And we're all not. And I can tell you, yeah, and this is just being factual. Like when I was in the military, well, I'll go to my childhood, because I don't want to put a lot on the military, because it's a total package. I told a story earlier about, as a kid, I think I was 11 or 12, the first time I really experienced racism and didn't know it was racism, I was 11. A gentleman and his friends were yelling out some racial epithets, driving on a road. They came on a sidewalk and hit me on my bike and tried to run over me and my cousin. My bike was destroyed. I was so worried about my grandma finding out, because she had just got the bike. It was like, it was done. It was bent. So I carried his bike 3 miles back home, and I told my grandma what happened, and I cried. I said, I'm sorry. I was more upset that they tore up this bike that my grandma brought for me, because we didn't have the money like that to do some of these things. They called the police. The police came. They caught the guy who ran me over, right? I had like scrapes. I didn't break any bones. What came out of that, y'all can look this up, that guy had to buy me a new bike, which was a cheaper bike, and he had to write me a letter. And in that letter, and I hope you guys can look this up, he basically stated I should not have pissed him off. And the way I pissed him off was I was black in a certain area. That was my only reason why I should not have pissed him off. So fast forward, I go into the military. I was happy I got a new bike. I didn't really think about it. My grandma was like, hey, forgive him. Let's pray about it. I go to church. My faith is my faith. I forgive. And when I went into the military, I realized, damn, that was attempted murder. And the only thing that guy got out of that was write me a letter that he accused me. I'm the reason why he did what he did. From there, I never allowed for someone else's their stuff to affect my heart. I still go out here and I support. And Tony, I don't care about race, color, creed. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. Because in serving each other, we become free.
Amen.
And let me tell you, brother, I'm free. I can sit here right now and tell you everything that I've ever done wrong in my life and be like, you know what? That happened for me. That's how I got to where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants a point,
listen, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. That's why I said I'm an open book. Ask me whatever, and I'll tell you. Growing up. Listen, again, this is gonna. Growing up, I went through a lot of shit as well, right? I was sharing this with another friend of mine, which he may be jumping on at some point. I don't know if he will or not. I grew up in Newark, as I had mentioned before, and on multiple occasions I was jumped by a group of young black men. Once on the way to school, once on the way from school, once during a fire drill. And I grew up in a community where that happened a lot. So inevitably, I've got to say, growing up in my teenage years, there was racism.
Mm.
And unfortunately, the actions of few usually affect the many. Fortunately, as you get older and you get educated and you learn and you understand and you grow and you educate yourself, you become better.
Yeah.
Right? You do the best you can with what you know until you know better, right? When you know better, you do better. And I've always been again, grew up in Newark. I have friends of every race, color, creed, religious background and everything else throughout my life. But it was tough growing up, and I heard a lot of shit throughout the years. But you've got to make a choice to educate yourself and elevate and evolve from where you came, evolve from and be able to forgive, and be able to accept and be able to. People say it's tolerance. I think tolerance is for shit. Tolerance isn't the issue. Acceptance is the issue, right? My tolerating someone still isn't right. I can tolerate a lot of things that I don't like, but it's about accepting the differences that we have amongst each other. So it took, it was probably in my late teens, early 20s that I was finally able to break free of that. And there is unfortunately, racism is alive and strong in this country. But you know what? We all have to make a choice. We all have to make a choice to grow through what we go through. That's why the name of the program is Get Up and Grow. We all have to choose to grow. We all have to choose to let go, to accept, to understand, to forgive, to apologize, to make amends, to do whatever we've got to do.
Hey, Tony.
And look, I think that we're ever evolving.
For America, can we give like 5 seconds of silence to take a break and all of us just send out some positive energy to everybody in the U.S. Can I get 5 seconds? Because I
Oh,
can see
hell
this
yes.
negative. I can feel it. Just to give 5 seconds, all right? Let's send out some positive love to the world because they need it right now. And I want everybody who's watching right now, like really dig deep in your soul and let's send out some love. Let's just send out that positive love, that positive energy because right now we're focusing on so much of the negative and we're not looking at the opportunities we have to better ourselves. I mean, this is a beautiful opportunity to come across a hurdle that for hundreds of years they could not fix. And I believe this generation, we can do it. So can we get 5 seconds?
Absolutely, brother. We can have 5 minutes.
Let's get 5 seconds. Okay. You know, Tony, I want to switch to the healing side. And this is something that I had to learn as a combat medic. I took on a lot of issues that weren't my issues as a medic. And you worked with me through some very extremely mentally, I had mental roadblocks. And on both sides, I see the mental roadblocks. And at the time, Tony, when you were helping me, I could not see that mental roadblock. But I had an open heart and open mind. I was willing to accept new information. If the people who are watching right now, if you're not willing to accept new information and you're so stuck and rigid in your belief, in your value system, we're not going to fix this until you open up your heart and open up your mind and be empathetic and say, okay, I may not be a black person, but if I was in their shoes and I watched my father slowly get tortured on Facebook Live until he dies, and then a bunch of wannabe EMTs that weren't EMTs, they were cops, put him in an ambulance. They didn't do any sort of medical treatment. They knew they murdered that guy, and he tried to cover it up, and he got caught. That's why America's mad right now. What we can do right now is focus on that happened. What can we do to ensure that never happens again? What policies and procedures can we put in place? And this is where a lot of my friends who are lobbyists, and I help, and we, some of the bills that are written, look, it takes work. But here's where you can help. We can help America. Vote. Take a look at each candidate and what they're bringing to the table. I don't care if they're white or they're black. Look at what they're going to do for our country, not for a specific group, but as a whole. Now, there's going to be certain groups that need help in certain areas. I'm all for it. Like, for example, with veterans, the current state of the VA and how veterans are not being serviced appropriately has everything to do with funding and the misuse of funding. I've identified a few things within Congress, within the VA, that needs to be fixed. I've reached out to Congress, and let me explain something to you. Unless you have the numbers behind you, Congress has already put out by the Inspector General, hey, we have an issue with the VA. In fact, USAA put out a story about they had an issue on the active duty side and the VA side. And you know what, Tony? The medical treatment of black people.
Wow.
So it's happening across the board. You would think that like when I was on active duty, I knew if I got in trouble, my punishment was 2 times worse than my white counterpart. And they did an inspection on this, the Inspector General, and it came back that it was founded. Company commanders were giving harsher sentences to black people. And this is in the military. And we caught this. And guess what came out of that?
Nothing.
Now, as a military personnel, I can't speak out. But now that I'm a civilian, guess what? Right is right, wrong is wrong. I'm telling every commander out there who's on active duty, you are charged with taking care of America's sons and daughters. And let me tell you, if you're falling short, I'm no longer in the military. And I will ensure you're identified and you're moved on to something else, because you should not be serving America. You're putting on a fraud. You're putting on a facade. And for you politicians who are undercover racists, whether black, white, whatever, you're going to get exposed. Your day is coming. And this is not a threat. This is a promise. Every vote counts. America, get out there and vote. But more importantly, what can you do? Do what Tony and I are doing right now. Talk, have open dialogue, have an open heart. I learned something from Tony and Tim, that they do see things from a perspective that it doesn't really affect you directly or your family. What affects you and Tim directly is them tearing up stuff. Now you can't go to stores. That's what affects you. What affects black people and people that look like me, I'm worried about getting killed unnecessarily, and then having folks that look like you trying to say, hey, let's look at his past.
You can't
ever get in trouble, or
it doesn't matter. See, that's
listen. That's the narrative every time.
I know, but it's freaking terrible. It's terrible because
so
it doesn't matter.
This is how we fix it. This is how we fix it.
Have
they bring that up, the media. Y'all, hey, guess what? We should be right and say, what does that matter?
Exactly. But brother, you said it the best. This is what needs to happen. It's conversation. It's discourse. It's not saying, screw you, you're on the left. Screw you, you're on the right. You know, bottom line, the people on the extreme left and the people on the extreme right are the assholes that are screwing everything up. It's the people in the middle that are getting screwed, because the reality of it is it's about communication. Good politics is about speaking and communicating and working through problems and challenges, not by making it worse and waiting and stalling and waiting for the election to then change. And then we're going to do this. And then they wind up not doing shit about it anyway and just placating a few and everything else. It's really about communication. It's about having the dialogue, you know, and so that people can understand each other. People don't communicate properly anymore. They make posts on social media. Listen, I know somebody, that I actually sent a message. They're making posts that are like, oh, first we had, COVID. Now and then we had the murder hornets. Now we got this. I don't know whether I should have a mask, a gun, or this. I'm like, dude, it's not funny. That's the wrong goddamn time to be making stupid ass posts like that. This is not, if you have nothing intelligent to say, you have nothing to add to the solution, shut the hell up.
I agree.
And I know everybody's got the right to their opinion and everything else, but now's the time to try to move things in the right direction. Now's the time to have the dialogue with people that one of the things I've been saying is you've got to one of the things I've been saying for a few months now is you've got to be able to love yourself, love those that love you, and send some love to those who need it the most, which is the ones that seemingly don't deserve it. Those are the ones that need it the most. Send some love to the people that have opposing views of you. Send some love to people that you disagree with, because at the end of the day, and I think it may have been Dr. Martin Luther King that says you can't take away darkness with darkness. You've got to add light. You can't take away hate with hate. You've got to add love. And while maybe in between there's got to be some violence, unfortunately, at times, but you've got to. The only way to stop this is to add light, to add love, to add respect, to add understanding, to add dialogue, to add conversation. Have a conversation with someone you don't understand so that you can get a different point of view, because you've learned nothing from life if you think you're always right. And if you think your way is the only way, then you're not doing this right. You're not, and anyone who doesn't agree with me, that's on my friend list, by all means, you know what to do. But the reality of it is we need to stand together. Otherwise we fall apart. Right. And one of the things that I read today by Ernest Hemingway, I haven't posted it yet, but I was going to. And this goes back to your point. Ernest Hemingway, I don't know when this was written, but it was certainly a long time ago. He says, go all the way with it. Do not back off for once. Go all the goddamn way with what matters. Right? How many times has this already happened that, it just passes over because the politics or the politicians or the news media that's in the pockets of some politicians, or the powers that be, the puppeteers that control the politicians, or whatever it is. And unfortunately, yes, my fire has been stoked to that opinion of the reality of what is, right? There's people, this is being done. This is being fabricated. Like you said, there's a white guy going by with a hammer, cracking windows to incite the violence. There's some idiots dropping pallets of bricks in Washington Square Park. It's the city of New York, for God's sakes. There's a camera for every camera. There's a camera watching the camera. Why don't you know who the hell dropped those pallets of bricks conveniently by all those plate glass windows? What's missing?
You know what's missing?
Paying attention and asking.
And I'm gonna say this: during the crack epidemic, during the late '80s, '90s, I didn't know not one black person owned a plane. And in my hometown, in that area, it took off in our area. A lot of people made a lot of money, and a lot of people are serving a lot of time in jail right now. I come from a Greek community, and there's a word, I'm pronouncing it wrong. I had a head injury, so my speech is, but it's called sozo, and it's a Greek word for salvation. And its root word goes beyond just forgiveness of sins. According to sozo, it also carries the idea of being physically healed of diseases and to be delivered from your enemy. In a spiritual sense, the enemy is the devil and his demons. And some of the things, like that man who put his knee on that man, he is demonic. He is evil. So I will tell my fellow Americans, justice will be served. We will be okay. We always recover. When 9/11 happened, what did we do? We came together as a country and we rocked. Trust you me, we're going to get past this. It's waking up some folks right now that they're realizing that peaceful protest and saying, marching with signs, this next generation, they are not their great-great-grandparents. You shoot at them, they're shooting back. And no one wins because bullets don't have eyes. I've held young kids who were shot by stray bullets. And when you watch a young child die, it's different. It's different. And before we get to that point where America is getting ready to go to a civil war, I'm here to tell you, there's a few of us with ambassadors of humanity. We keep a balance in the world. We will ensure those evil folks, justice will be served.
Sometimes it's got to
not get it twisted.
Yeah, sometimes it's got to be the good people with bad intentions.
And so there's some of us that we're not scared of the dark because we're the scariest thing up in the dark. Some of us have walked those dark roads. So just imagine me being put in that situation where I'm being confronted by someone who thinks they can outhandle me, outman me. I taught combatives for a decade. I served 10 years on foreign land. I know how to shoot. You think I'm gonna let someone manhandle me like that?
Not for a second. Not for a second.
Listen, America, look at me. I'm dying on my feet. Don't think you're gonna just handcuff me, slam me around, and just kill me. No, I am not gonna go without my hands being bloody. If you have a gun, I haven't done anything, and I'm doing everything you want to do. Y'all want to bull rush me? I am not. Let me tell you, I'm not them. If I'm completely innocent, just sitting in my home, and someone runs up in my house, don't identify themselves, and shoots my spouse, let me tell you, every last one of those personnel are not walking out of my home. If you break into my home, don't announce yourself, and you begin to shoot people up in my home, I have a permit to carry. My weapons are my weapons. They belong to me. I'm going to protect myself. No questions asked. I'm going to name a few names. And the first thing that comes to your head, I want you to give me a descriptor. You ready?
Descriptor.
Martin Luther King.
Sorry, go ahead.
MLK. MLK, what do you think of him? First thing that pops in your head.
Leader, amazing man.
Malcolm X.
A leader, good points. Don't know if I agree with all of it.
Muhammad Ali.
Leader, great man.
Okay. Now, I named 3 guys for a reason. 2 of those guys are loved right now. All 3 of them back in the day were hated. Absolutely hated. Right? MLK. Assassinated. Martin Luther King. Assassinated. And the government was sued for assassinating MLK, and we all know, just look it up. Now that's wrong. You have a leader who is peacefully protesting, and our government was like, he's a danger, kill him. And then you have someone who, like Muhammad Ali, who lost his belt, who's a boxer, refused to go overseas and kill folks that don't look like him. There was a big race issue back in those days. He was willing to go to jail. He was a bad guy. But right now, for his convictions and standing up for what's right, he is loved. And let me tell you something about me. I'd rather be hated by 1,001 people and be loved by 1. Because at the end of the day, that 1,001 and that 1 don't matter. I know what's right in my heart. And I'm going to go out there and fight for the needy. You know, in the Bible, it talks about 2 groups that that I personally take personal ownership in taking care of. The widow and the fatherless. We owe it to them. Stop with the BS. If we take care of those 2 groups, I'm telling you all, we will fix a lot of these problems. So I'm challenging every king, every person who calls himself a man, go out there and get 1 widow and 1 fatherless child and be a father. Be a man that steps up and say, hey, how can I help you? And watch how the world changes.
I appreciate about that. Appreciate you about that, because I know that you do that. I know that you stepped in, and I know personally, just on a couple of different occasions that we've been on the phone, that you're here or there and you're doing what you've got to do, bro. Look, I think that we all have the responsibility, we all have the obligation, and we all can and should do something. And it doesn't matter how small. You know, so many people get locked in to the idea, well, what can I do? Well, you know what? You got to stand up. You got to stand up for what you believe. You got to stand up and make your voice heard to your politicians. You got to vote. Listen, I'm a big fan of term limits for everyone, and nobody should be allowed back for at least 10 years, because it's the people that are in there for a lifetime that are really creating the problem. It's not the Isaac that goes in for 4 years and maybe does another 4 years. No disrespect, but or a Tony. It's not a Tony that goes in for 4 years and does a second term. It's a Tony that stays in for 5 terms. And now it doesn't matter how white your suit was when you went into the woods. You're in there long enough, and it's going to get dirty, right? And that's what winds up happening. So between changing our leadership, between educating our youth and our adults, between learning really emotional intelligence, because I think that's such a huge part of what's happening. We don't have emotional intelligence.
Tony,
right? They don't.
On that, it's something I formally, in front of everybody, I got to thank you for, and Joseph McClennan. I must do this before we end this. When Tony and I first met, he had me stand in front of a mirror and he had me look at Isaac, look myself in the eye in that mirror. And I had to face some of my demons. And from that moment, I came back home and I worked on a painting. And Tony, this is what I saw when I was
Brother.
looking at that.
Dude,
I saw.
Man, you just. Oh, dude, I just.
Tony, you remember these eyes?
Yes,
Look
I
at
do,
it.
bro. You just.
You
Holy
remember that
shit.
sadness?
Yeah.
All right, so let me explain something to you guys. I was in such a dark place, and I didn't know it. But there are good people like Tony, like Joseph McClendon. I gotta thank him. Oh my gosh, I got her name. Andrea. Tony Robbins. Like, you know what? Tony, Joseph,
Andrea
Tony.
brought me to you.
Yes, and what's the other guy's name? It's on the tip of my tongue. Black guy. Bald head.
Pajuf? No.
No. It's gonna come to me in a second. He was the first one initially. I was literally leaving the event, and so I ended up in a platinum area because the way I learn is I need to be there. I need to experience. I don't need all the extra stuff, but I gotta thank you guys. You men stood around me, and I was in the dark. I could not see the light. Tony, you were a flashlight. You were that blinking light. Like, hey, over here. Over here. Can you see us? And as I walked towards you, you showed me myself in a mirror. The next person was Joseph McClendon. We had a private conversation, and let me tell you, that conversation changed my life. And I want to thank, if that man is listening right now, can someone please tag him and say, there is one man that you changed his life, and which affected so many other people in my life. My beautiful family, my friends. I was not bringing the best me forward. You pointed that out. Andrea pointed that out. Joseph. And I was firing on all cylinders. But when you guys point out things that I can make myself even better, man, I took off. And so I share all that to say this. America, find someone you trust to have these difficult conversations, because sometimes you're in the dark and you think you know where you're going. Ask someone to flick on a light so you know to light your way. Still go where you're going, but at least light your path so that you don't step on some glass. Something was mentioned earlier about a pool and how can you tell if glass is in a pool. And when you step on it, like, people you can't see it. It's just like racism. My thing is this. I don't care about the glass in the pool. I want to know who was the sorry son of a bitch that broke the glass, that went in the pool and didn't clean it up and didn't tell anybody. That's racism. Everybody wants to focus on the glass in the pool that you can't see, but no one wants to address who broke the glass and who swept it in the pool. America, if you want to address racism, find out who's breaking the glass.
That's good. That's good. I love that. I love that. By the way, Ofer just said maybe Rohan Williams. Was it Rohan? The other black guy. That? Rohan Williams, maybe? Rohan, perhaps?
No, I mean, I know. Gosh, I see his face. He's a bald guy, tall.
Short?
Tall. Very, very tall. Has a goatee. You know him. Oh, my gosh. It'll come to me later on.
Yeah.
I'm very well known in the Tony Robbins world. Like, all like crew member.
I know exactly who you're talking about, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know he's probably watching this. I apologize, but Andrea, Tony, it was somebody else. She had blonde hair, really nice. Got to think Alonzo. Let me tell you, the Tony Robbins crew. There are people in that organization that inherently love taking care of humanity, and That's why I consider them, and I with ambassadors of humanity, those are the sort of people that we want on our team. You can have the spotlight rangers, the ones that are like, look what I'm doing. Like, no, what are you doing behind closed doors? And I'm gonna tell you what I did with my stimulus check. Check this out. There was a group. There's a few young teens that were homeless. So guess what I did with my money? I brought them here and I trained them for 2 weeks, fed them, got them work, got their minds right, and right now, um, one left today to go. He's in basic training, special forces. Like, I'm proud of that young man. One going to college, and the other two are going to finish up their senior year. And I got one from my wife. But I say all that to say this: if you give the youth a chance, they will surprise you. But we need folks like yourself or myself to take the time and figure out what is bothering them. Where are they getting their information from? And if they're getting it from social media, we all know that some of that information is wrong. So it
Yeah.
takes folks like us, and I run a program. If you have a child, a young man who's a teenager who is, good, is having some growing pains, send them to me for 2 weeks. I don't charge you anything. I just say pay for their food. I train them. We get leadership classes. Um, we teach them about life skills, and I treat them like a son. Let me help you. I've helped countless men. And you look at them now, they're doing well. So to each one, teach one. I need help. Hey, Tony, I'm going to challenge you. This year, I want you to identify one widow and one fatherless child and do something. Do something. It's one this year. Whether it's a Mother's Day, you drop her something off on Mother's Day. On her birthday, hey, here's some flowers. For the young man on his birthday, whatever the case, show them that they're loved. They're not forgotten.
I appreciate that,
And that's
brother.
what
Oddly enough, I have done that.
okay, wait, we're winning.
Yeah, I've done that. And look, you've got my support, man. I know we've spoken about this numerous times. Whenever you need me to come and help you lead a group or do whatever, I'm there for you. I'm there for you because that day that we met, that conversation, that shifted me. That painting. By the way, for anyone who's watching, you see that beautiful artwork behind him? Dollars to Donuts. That's by the hand of Mr. Isaac Day. That's Isaac. And by the way, those aren't paintings. Those aren't pictures. Those are paintings. He did those with his
I know.
hands.
I don't know if you can.
So talk about a
It's
talented individual. I mean, look at this. Just amazing, dude.
like
Do you still have that picture of Tony Robbins you did do you still have that?
Oh yeah,
Dude,
I
you
do.
gotta take a picture of it and send it to me because it's so deep in my phone. I haven't been able to find it. I've got probably.
Oh, check this out. I will send you an autographed copy, or to you, and I'll frame it for you. Is that good?
Oh, dude, it's awesome, dude. That was amazing. No, that's Salvador Dali. That is Salvador Dali, but that's painted by Isaac Day.
Yeah, that's So in my hometown, they had a museum that had all his work, and I was in the second grade, and so one of my paintings won a region, and he put it in the museum. And I'll never forget. I went there and I saw how like quirky he was, and I was like, man, I really relate to that guy. And he's always been one of those folks I looked up to. I want to do a shameless plug real quick.
Do it, man.
I just sold.
At the end of the show, we always do that. I'm kind of hoping we have a surprise guest because I sent a text message out, but I don't know if that person's available or not.
Okay. Well, check this out. This is what I'm working on for vets. I got rid of my pride and joy. Anyone who knows me knows I love cars and I love properties. I sold my black on black 70 GTO that I did a total frame off. It was powder coated, bushings done, power seats, drum brakes. This thing was immaculate. With this COVID thing, in 1 week, I lost 7 of my battles to suicide. 2 days ago, 3 days ago or so, I put my GTO up for sale to buy some land to build a property so that my brothers and sisters have somewhere to stay during their transition. During those 2 or 3 months, they don't have somewhere to stay because they're not getting money in. So I sold my GTO within 10 minutes. It sold like that. And I was able to buy this piece of property. I got to tear down a home, but I'm going to build it up. And how I'm going to pay for this project, if y'all take a look behind me, I'm going to do prints of every last one of these paintings. If you want one of my prints, I will autograph and give a personal letter. This is going directly, every dime, to helping my brothers and sisters and building this, because I'm not getting support from the VA, and I'm going to show them once I build it, they will come. I want to thank Tarpon Springs, Florida. The city of Tarpon Springs is behind me. They are behind me, and I want to thank them because it's going to be, they're the first place I'm building a home for vets. So Tarpon Springs, great shout out to you all. Man, they're doing it right. And I wish and I pray that the rest of the country jumps on board. And Tony, I don't care if it's $1, $2, whatever you can donate, whatever your friends can donate. We're gonna do this right. We're gonna do a ribbon cutting ceremony.
Well, listen, why don't we set up a GoFundMe account and maybe put up some of your amazing paintings, and make this real, not just say it here. It's great to just say it, but unless you set up a platform and you can actually do it at scale, hopefully there'll be a handful of people on here that are going to participate. But it'd be great if we can just blast this stuff everywhere. Because listen, this man is up to so many great things. Not only is he about helping, widows and fatherless children, but he is also helping veterans to reacclimate back into society. One of the most painful things of that moment when we met is you had told me that the day you landed in Newark, one of your battle buddies had killed himself. And that Sunday before you left, another one of your friends had taken his own life. And these are decorated soldiers. These are lifers, so to speak, that have been in for 20 plus years and saved thousands and thousands of lives. A lot of these guys are field combat medics, and you're out there making a difference. You're out there making an impact and changing their lives and saving their lives. So, brother, I have so much respect for you. So you can absolutely count on my support and. Whatever, let's put something together. Let's put something together to have some of your beautiful artwork sent out. Listen, I guarantee you make prints of that. And I don't want to say what it is. I want to say it, but with the algorithm, just
I gotta show this.
You have it, show it. Because I don't want to say the word.
Out,
listen, I don't want to say
this out. This is my favorite one.
Flagged. I don't want to get flagged.
Look at that.
That's pretty badass. What is that? It's a fist.
Yes, and so that's how it was.
And it's somebody laying in. Holy shit! Is that somebody else laying down?
Yes, yes. So I have some very unique pieces.
Dude, amazing.
They're one of a kind. Please, I beg of you all, this is for we're losing so many vets, and once you guys see the numbers from the COVID, vets who have committed suicide during this time period. It is going to absolutely piss you off.
I'm pissed off enough. Now you just said that to me. I didn't know that number had escalated that much. Makes sense that it does. Because, now you're about it. Now I can't even listen. The aftermath of COVID is going to be, anyway. But no.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to do this.
By the way, I'm telling you, that one that you did, and this, by the way, do you have it? Do you have it anywhere handy? I know you just did it on your book. You know the one I'm talking about. I don't want to say the word because it's the type of device I don't need it to get flagged by anything on social media.
I thought I had it.
You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Dude, do you still have it anywhere in a book somewhere? You have to have it.
I do.
Dude, that one will sell like hotcakes, dude, because that is such a unique thing. And he did this with a pencil. And you would think that he used, even Salvador Dali back there, that's probably done what, with pencil, charcoal? What'd you do that with?
Multiple acrylic, oil. But I start off with pencil. But acrylic and oil.
Well, the way
Acrylic
you
dries a
did,
little bit
actually, it wasn't even
quicker.
pencil. It was a black ink pen, and the way you were able to
Oh, yeah.
shade it and make it anatomically correct, and it was so impressive, dude. You've got, and I told you at the time, you've got more talent in your little pinky than I got my whole damn body. More
Oh man, cut it out, man. You're embarrassing me now.
Listen, I can't
Oh,
paint the wall without getting the corners banged up. So impressive, man. So listen, you're an amazing soul. You're out there doing so much good in the world. I'm honored that you came on the show today, and that I'm honored to count you among my friends, my brothers, and
absolutely.
whatever I can do to help support you, bro. You know that. Honestly, I didn't realize it was 2008. I was, in my mind, it was, you sure it was 2018?
Yeah.
Dude, that was only 2 years ago. It's not really possible.
New York.
Wow. I feel
New
like
Jersey.
I've known you. I feel like I've known you at least 5 or 6.
That day, like we were like solidified. You got to think at that moment, I've never, and I can say this, I never cried so hard because I had over 20 years of never having the chance to grieve for the losses of every soul that I held. And at that one moment where you allowed me to grieve for my brothers and sisters, I was never given that opportunity. And I let it all out. And it felt like just a world just jumped off my shoulder. And I was like, okay, now the work begins. That year I changed my name from Isaac to Jacob because I had to change what I was doing, how I looked. I grew my beard out. I changed up how I dressed. I did a hardcore 180. Hey, Isaac, how you doing business? I don't like that. Hey, you saw the light. Now let's work towards it. And let me tell you, I've not looked back. Now, do I have my moments? Absolutely, but I will never quit. I'll always fight.
We all have our moments, and it's in those moments that we need to dig down and find our strength. So those are the moments that you need to reach out and call a brother. You need to reach out and call someone who's there for your support, because we all have those weak moments. We all have those moments of sadness, of anger, of depression, of disappointment, of whatever it is. And all those moments do is they serve to point to something that needs our attention. Right? There are no bad emotions. They're just emotions. Emotions are just simply indicators of something that's going on. And you need to just pay attention to that and deal with that and give it the attention or the love or the time that it needs to heal or to do whatever it is that you need to do. But there's no bad emotions. Even anger and hate, you know what? It sucks. It's not a bad emotion. It's just calling your attention to something that needs your attention for you to address it and fix it so it doesn't become a problem, so that anger doesn't become hate and hate doesn't become evil, whatever, right? Those emotions are there. I say it all the time in communication. I tell people, I says, never avoid a conversation because a conversation becomes a discussion. Never avoid a discussion because a discussion becomes an argument. Never avoid an argument because the argument not had becomes a fight. Never avoid a fight because a fight not had becomes war, right? And the same thing happens with our emotions. If we feel an emotion, we bury it. We feel an emotion, we bury it. It's just going into the powder keg, and eventually the powder keg is going to blow up. And I've been saying through this, and not just now, but in the past, I tell people, stand up, make your voice heard, make your opinion heard, stand up. Because if you say nothing, you're not part of the solution. You're potentially part of the problem, and you're just adding to the powder keg that will blow up, which is what's happening now. Powder keg blew up, and it's like you said, I fear that there's other powder kegs underneath that powder keg, right? And if we're not careful, those powder kegs are going to explode and cause more and more of a problem. So it's time for us to just unite. It's time for us to speak. It's time for us to pick up the phone and call someone that you have a problem with. Speak to people that you disagree with. Have a civil conversation. We're all adults. We're not in grade school anymore. We're not in high school. What the decisions we make really matter now more than ever. So we've got to stand for each other. We've got to stand up against injustice. We got to stand up against the people that would oppress us and keep us down. Because again, injustice anywhere is a danger to justice everywhere. Today it was it was George. Tomorrow it could be Betty, or it could be someone just because you spoke out against a certain a certain person or a certain party or a certain opinion or whatever, and before you know it, you're the one under somebody's knee. And it doesn't matter what color the cop is, because you know what? It's a problem that exists, and we need to stand for those who can no longer stand for themselves, and we need to stand for those who are tired of standing alone.
Tony, and I want to look in the camera when I say this, because during this COVID thing, there's a group they think they're safe. For those who are taking advantage of women and kids, for this human trafficking thing, let me tell you, ambassadors of humanity, we're still getting you, we're still hunting. So whatever's going on with the COVID and everything else, we're still out there.
And this might make it worse.
Yes, it did. And so we're coming. We're coming. And trust you me, look at this face. This will be the face that you see kicking in the door.
Brother, I need you to connect, and I'm gonna put in a plug. And by the way, we're gonna figure out what this GoFundMe account's gonna be, this website's gonna be. We're gonna get this message out. But I'm gonna put in another plug for another friend of mine, Jason Cisneros. He's got a group called the Misfit Nation, right? Because we're all misfits. We've all made mistakes. We've made amends, and we're now doing better for society. And he's very big on supporting both. The two big groups that he supports is A New Dawn, which helps victims of domestic violence and get them out of those situations, and CERT Ministries, SERT, CERT Ministries, which is Pastor Rudy Gonzalez, and basically they're the underground railroad in the U.S. They don't go really outside. Sometimes they cross into Mexico, but that's what they do. They go and they rescue boys and girls and people from the sex trade.
You know what, Tony, the thing that I would love to tell those groups is that sometimes you need someone who's from that sort of environment.
Brother,
to understand that.
Brother, I'm going to connect you with these guys. I'm going to connect you with them. I think you need to certainly at least know these guys and be involved, because that's what they do.
The things that we do, and I respect how they do things. We don't charge no one for what we do. When a parent, after they call the police,
brother, neither do they.
But the thing is, I'm not a 501c. Everything is funded by vets, our own dollars. So when we go out there, we rent vehicles, we fly out. When we, within those 2 or 3 days, we're out there. We're looking, and our success rate is our success rate. You could talk to some of the parents that we brought kids back. So. It's synergy. We all just need to work together, because some things that they may be doing that I can say, hey, why don't you add this? Because I've noticed with some of these groups, these human trafficking groups that fight human trafficking, they're a one-trick pony. And being a vet who's had to track down bad guys from different countries that are in one country, it's some skills that I can share, because it's only going to make us better. Yeah. As far as fighting human trafficking. So I would love to come in and share lessons learned. I would love to learn what they've learned.
Yeah, no, listen.
So yeah, I welcome it.
We'll talk offline about it. When we get off here, we'll stay on for a few minutes.
Okay.
Anyway, look, I guess the person that I reached out to, let's see, I don't think I didn't get a response back. I didn't get a response back, so no surprise today. But we'll get that together another time. Well, listen, brother, I appreciate you, and I want to be respectful. I'm going to say I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Of course, we're 33 minutes over time.
Oh my gosh!
But for all of you who stayed with us, I mean, this is a conversation that needs to be had, and I encourage every one of you to go out and have this conversation with somebody. Certainly, at the very least, have this conversation in your homes with your children. Have this conversation with your friends. Because we can all make an impact, and it starts at home first. It starts in our neighborhood, then it starts in our community, in our towns, our cities, our states, and that's how we make a difference. So it's about getting the conversation started. It is an uncomfortable conversation. I said something right now on here on Facebook that I probably have never said. Actually, I've said it once earlier today to someone else. That's a conversation that I've never had. It's a vulnerable thing, and people can judge me. That's okay. That's okay, because like I said, part of the whole thing of the Misfit Nation, we've all made mistakes. We evolve. We grow through what we go through. We've all had tough moments. We've all had tough situations, and at times we've done things that were not right and things that weren't wrong. Isaac, I know you feel guilt about one thing or another. That's okay. It's about moving on, making amends,
Yeah.
and doing better, right? And doing better. So I encourage everyone that's here to really have a conversation. Speak to somebody that you don't see eye to eye with. Be open. Again, if in this life you think that you know everything, and that you're right all the time, then you've really not learned very much at all. So go out and learn. Go out and expose yourself to things that you don't understand. Expand your mind. Open your heart. Again, love yourself. Respect yourself.
Yeah.
Love those who love you. And again, send some love to those that least deserve it, because those are the ones that need it most. Send love to those people that are looting. Send love to those people that are committing acts of violence, because they're doing that because they don't have enough love in their heart at times. Right?
Amen.
Otherwise they'd be protesting. But there's a lot of anger there. So let's support. Let's not be so quick to judge. And I'm one of the first ones to say that I'm against looting 100%. Because listen, one of the saddest, and I'll say this, one of the saddest things that I saw yesterday was probably a 60-year-old black man with maybe a son or his grandson shouting at looters, saying, "Why? I came from the hood too. Why would you do this to me?" As they looted his store and stole everything. He's like, "I came from the hood too. I'm still in the community. I'm serving the community. Why would you take from me? I'm one of you. Why do this to me?" And I'll tell you, man, that hurt to watch. It was painful because, yeah, again, it just have respect, man. The people that are getting killed, that they weren't the person. I know that people are angry, but killing someone else is not the answer.
Well, I think the answer is swift justice when cops kill an unarmed black man.
Dude,
arrest them
on camera. For God's sakes, it's all on camera. Again, not to go back to that, but absolutely swift justice for those who face injustice, especially at the hands of those who are supposed to uphold justice. Politicians need to be held at a much higher standard. Our leaders need to be held at a much higher standard. That's why they're the leaders, right? The police need to be held at a higher standard, because the good cops are now paying for the bad cops. The cop that was killed, the retired cop that was killed, that was just working security, trying to stop them from stealing whatever the hell they were stealing in the store. I would have to believe that he was a good cop, because nothing tells me otherwise. The cop that got run over when he came out of his car in New York, the other cop that was in the middle of the street just got run over. Listen, those people have families too, and maybe you're killing one of the good ones, because there's more good than bad in everything, in every culture, in every profession, in every race, in every religion. There's more good than bad. So just, for God's sakes, just have a heart. And when you're out there protesting, when you're out there doing whatever, just have a heart, and just know that other people have families and have that as well. And I just want to end this, and I know that you know this as well, brother. So by the way, how can people find you on Facebook? And
Isaac Day.
Isaac Day on Facebook.
ISAACDAY. And most people hit me up on email if you want me to come speak at an engagement. orthoman.day@gmail.com. ORTHOMAN.day, DAY@gmail.com. I now have an aide, so every email will be answered. So if you want me to speak, hey, we got a schedule. Things are filling up quick. I will speak at any event, as long as it's for the right reason. If you want me to come in and just complain about how everything is bad without showing like how we can make things better, my message is all about healing, loving those who love me, be an ambassador of humanity. And Tony, you're an ambassador of humanity. Keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Thanks, brother.
You're changing life. You are a change agent. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Listen, doing what I can with what I've got, and sometimes doing what I can even with what I don't. So listen, we can all make a difference, brother, and I appreciate that. So listen, you're now familiar, and you know what? I'm going to close the show, and then I'm going to end it with something else. I'm going to end the show, but I want to close it with something else. So I always like to close the show by saying that, my friends, life is not about how many times you fall. It's about getting up after every fall and learning from that, right? And right now, we have fallen again. You know, I say you fall down 7 times, get up 8, but here we are, we've fallen again. And remember that it's in falling down that we learn. And it's in getting up that we grow. And now we're on the ground and we've fallen. So let's not just get up and go, right? And I guess this isn't more, you know, it applies so well here. Let's not just get up and go. In 2-3 weeks when things calm down, let's just not just get up and go on with our lives. Let's get up and grow and be better. Be better. We're better than this. As a society, as a community, we're better than this. So it's time to get up and grow. We've fallen. It's time to get up and grow. Because if we don't, we're destined to fall again. Right? So let's just
repeat itself.
Fall again. Even if we fall again, at least we won't fall down as deep as we did now. If we fall again, let's learn. Let it be a trip and not a fall with the broken leg. Let's take swift action. Let's root out the bad apples, because it's not okay to have 3 pilots that like to crash a goddamn plane. It's just like it's not good to have 3 cops that, well, most of them are good. Well, great. Get rid of the bad ones. And here's the thing. Every good cop knows who the bad one is.
Good cops hate the bad cops. Trust you me.
Two
of my brothers are cops.
But they can't do anything because the brass doesn't allow it, because the damn police unions don't allow it. Yep. They know who they are. So take action. Let's get up and grow through what the hell we're going through. And not just otherwise we're just going to keep going through it. Maybe this will pass in another 2-3 years, the same shit's going to happen again. Except every time the violence and the looting is going to get closer and closer to your house. So, and maybe next time it's you with the boot on your neck. Doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. But maybe it's you with a knee on your neck. So let's avoid.
You know to get in touch with me. You know to get in touch with Tony. Hey, we got to spread this word. You know, the last week, every day I've been in another city talking to someone about how to address the teens. And I've speaking to groups of 100 to 400. Like, it don't matter. Like, if it's one person, I will talk to one person. I spoke to an elderly couple yesterday, come from old money, and they're like, how can we fund this so we can fix this? That was beautiful. They reached out to me. I never met these folks. And they said, Isaac, take a look at these 501c. Who can we donate to that's going to actually do the work? That is beautiful.
It is beautiful. Unfortunately, not all is worth donating to. Not all of them are. Some are great. And like I said, A New Dawn is one of them. Certain ministries is one of them, but they're not all great. They don't listen. There's plenty. If you see any one of the presidents or anyone to deal with that works for them, if they're driving around in a sports car, their car is worth more than your house. That's not who you want to be donating your money to. So, Anyway, with that said, guys know how to reach me. You know how to reach Isaac. Now, Isaac, if you will, join me for a little Ho'oponopono.
Gotcha.
All right. Ho'oponopono, by the way, for those who don't know, it's an old Hawaiian ritual. It's a spiritual prayer. It's not a religious prayer. And I'll just kind of tell you what it is real quick. But basically, it was a study that was done in a prison, a super violent prison, and this psychologist just went there and studied the Ho'oponopono and put it in practice by just looking at that person, the inmates' pictures, and doing this daily for every single one of them. doing this process, reduced the violent crime in that prison by 70% in 6 months without doing anything else. So it's basically, it's just basically, and right now, not to do it as individuals, you can do it as individuals, and you can look this up on YouTube, or you can look it up on my page. I'm sure that I've got a video for it as well. It's the Ho'oponopono, exactly how it sounds. So right now, what I'd like to do is just envision, I guess, the world, right? Envision the, envision George Floyd, envision, all the other people that may have fallen at the hands of, unjustly at the hands of a bad cop, or just anyone that's facing any injustice anywhere in the world. Let's focus and think about maybe even the rioters and the looters that are out there now, but especially the peaceful protesters, and anyone who's done harm to you or to anyone that's inflicting pain in the world right now. And I just want you to close your eyes for a second and put your hand on your heart. I say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I appreciate you, brother. I love you, man, and I appreciate everything that you're doing and how you keep showing up. And I look forward to having many more of these conversations with you, and whatever I can do to be an influencer of change and someone who can help support you, supporting other people. Whatever I can do, man, I'm here. All right?
Absolutely. Hey,
thank you, everyone, for watching.
You, brother.
You don't go away. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And do what you can with what you got.
Blessings, America.
You know better, do better. Appreciate you all. Love you.